Do you remember how much you paid for your last phone? The one you bought 2 years ago or maybe 3? If you were planning to upgrade this year, get ready for a nasty surprise when you reach the checkout counter. This has nothing to do with inflation, and for once, it's not because of politics or some global crisis you've heard about 100 times before. No, this is about a single component, a tiny sliver of silicon that sits inside anything capable of doing a calculation. Your phone, your computer, your car, your refrigerator, your internet router. Everything.
This component is called RAM, memory, and right now there simply isn't enough for everyone. An invisible force is consuming the global supply at a terrifying rate. Artificial intelligence is sucking up the world's production so aggressively that Samsung, the largest memory manufacturer on the planet, has started refusing to sell to its own subsidiaries. Prices have tripled in just 1 year. Tech giants like Apple, Tesla, and Sony are feeling the shockwaves, and on the other side of the table, just 3 companies are splitting a jackpot worth hundreds of billions of dollars. They call it the Ramageddon. The race for memory has begun, and the markets haven't yet grasped the scale of what's unfolding. In this video, I'm going to reveal everything. What danger does this shortage pose to the entire AI economy? How long will it last? And most importantly, should you invest in this sector, or is it a trap waiting to spring?
This will be a series of videos that will present you new free AI tools and news. So don't forget to subscribe and drop positive comments, so the next video episode will show on your video recommendations.
To understand the desperation, you have to look at what's happening behind closed doors. Apple's procurement teams are practically camping out at Samsung's factories just to secure deliveries. That's the level of anxiety we're dealing with. Elon Musk has declared that Tesla will be forced to build its own memory factory, the Tesla Terafab, just to keep its cars on the road. Dell has jacked up the price of its PCs by hundreds of dollars depending on the model. Lenovo is stockpiling memory well beyond its usual needs. Acer warns that its manufacturing costs have spiked so high they have no choice but to raise prices across their entire lineup. And then there's Sony. The next PlayStation, slated for 2027, could be delayed until 2029. Nintendo is even considering raising the price of its Switch 2, which just launched. But the smartphone market is where it gets really brutal. High-end phones with 16 gigabytes of RAM? Gone. Multiple manufacturers are preparing to drop back down to 8 gigs or even 6, a spec we haven't seen since the early 2000s. Soon, memory alone could account for 30% of the cost of building a budget smartphone. It was only 10% at the start of 2025. And this is just the beginning. Analysts estimate that current demand already exceeds supply by 10%, and that gap is widening every single month. It exploded after a deal signed in Seoul last October. That day, Sam Altman, the head of OpenAI, flew in to meet the leaders of Samsung and SK Hynix, the 2 largest memory manufacturers on Earth. When he walked out, a deal was struck. Supply OpenAI with 900,000 silicon wafers per month to power Stargate, the largest AI infrastructure project in history, backed by a $500 billion budget. The goal? Build a network of data centers capable of running the next generation of ChatGPT. To put that in perspective, 900,000 wafers a month represents about 40% of the entire world's production, all for a single company. The South Korean president even showed up for the signing. That's how massive this contract was. But to understand why this deal broke the system, you need to know what we're actually talking about. Let's keep it simple. RAM is your device's workspace. The bigger the desk, the more files you can spread out and the faster you can work. The hard drive is the filing cabinet in the hallway. It stores your things, but you have to get up to get them. Now, an AI like ChatGPT processes astronomical amounts of data simultaneously in real time. It needs a workspace the size of a warehouse. And not just any memory. AI uses a special type called HBM, or high bandwidth memory. It's RAM on steroids, stacked in layers around NVIDIA's processors. Without it, a $30,000 processor is as useful as a Ferrari with no gas. Here's where it all breaks. This premium memory is made in the exact same factories, using the exact same machines as the regular RAM in your phone and PC. Except HBM makes a lot more money. So when Sam Altman shows up with a $70 billion check, the manufacturers make a choice, and the winners are not you or me. Samsung and SK Hynix started shifting their production lines to prioritize HBM for the Stargate orders. The classic DRAM, the stuff the rest of the world relies on every day, got pushed to the back of the line. And there's no backup plan. Samsung Electronics is the largest conglomerate in South Korea, $230 billion in revenue, an $800 billion market cap, 260,000 employees. They are the global #1 in memory, screens, and TVs, and they are now refusing to supply their own divisions just to honor those more profitable AI orders. Along with SK Hynix and the American company Micron, Samsung, SK Hynix, and the American company Micron controls 95% of the world's memory production. All three have made their choice: serve AI and maximize profit. The rest of the electronics world is left waiting in line. The new factories announced by Micron in New York and SK Hynix in Korea won't be online until 2027, maybe 2028. That means at least 2 years of shortage. Get used to it and get your checkbook ready. Everything with electronics is about to cost more: your next phone, your next PC, your next car, your fancy new connected gadget. An essential component has become rare, and since nobody is going to explain that to your smartphone or laptop, we're all going to pay up and grit our teeth. For anyone planning to upgrade hardware this year, the advice from analysts is clear: buy now. It won't be cheaper tomorrow. Businesses, this is a strategic nightmare. Big tech companies reliant on memory have to choose between raising prices and losing customers, reducing performance and degrading their product, or slashing margins and angering shareholders. Most will try to hold the line. It's the smaller players, the independent PC assemblers, the budget smartphone makers in emerging markets, the hardware startups, who are most threatened. They have no leverage. Some will not survive 2 years of this shortage. Even sectors you wouldn't expect are getting hit. Medical imaging equipment, scanners, diagnostic devices, they all run on memory. Modern cars use dozens of chips for GPS, screens, and driver assistance. This has become a strategic asset, like oil or rare earth metals. 3 companies, 2 Korean, 1 American, control nearly the entire global supply. Europe produces none. China is trying with its champion CXMT, but they're far behind and held back by US technology embargoes. This means the digital sovereignty of entire continents now depends on decisions made in Seoul and Boise, Idaho. For the manufacturers, it's a gold rush. Samsung just posted results for the last quarter of 2025, a fireworks show. Operating profit up 208% to $13.8 billion in 3 months, an absolute record. Their memory division alone is pulling in over 50% operating margins, numbers usually reserved for software companies, not hardware makers. And Samsung isn't even first in class. SK Hynix surpassed them in operating profit for the first time ever, driven by that HBM memory that AI can't live without. They're building the largest advanced memory factory in the world, quietly announcing 70% price hikes to their clients. Take it or leave it. Meanwhile, American giant Micron is showing insolent health. Revenue jumped 56% in a year, their stock up over 240% in the last 12 months. Their entire memory production for 2026 is already sold out. An oligopoly and a shortage is a perfect cash machine. But here's the warning. Memory is the most cyclical subsector in all of tech, and right now, the CEO of Phison, one of the world's largest storage component makers, predicts that entire electronics companies will shut down by the end of this year. If those are critical suppliers to the AI chain, the domino effect could trigger a panic in the markets, massive capital withdrawals, and the bursting of the bubble. But be careful. The very shortage driving these profits is creating a brittle system. If the AI bubble pops, or if the demand for memory suddenly stalls, this entire house of cards could come crashing down faster than anyone expects. For anyone planning to buy hardware this year, the advice from analysts is clear. Buy now. It won't be cheaper tomorrow. See you the next one.